Hi, my name is David Speers. Today I am going to ask Julia Gillard a few questions about the carbon tax to clarify everything you wanted to know. Julia, how many people will be affected by the carbon tax?
There will only be 500 of the big polluters who have to pay the carbon tax.
Okay, and these big polluters will pass on this extra cost to their customers?
Yes. But then we are going to compensate everyone for how much the big polluters will be putting up their prices, so no one in Australia will be worse off. Except the top 10% of the filthy rich hysterical climate change deniers.
If the large majority are going to be no worse off, then how is this going to improve climate change?
Because ours will be a government with just one purpose, and that is to serve the Australian people.
How does that improve climate change?
Oh, David, don't be so silly. Because I have a vision for Australia. Democracy is not about one long opinion poll or focus group. It is about leadership and vision. And I know that when people look back at this time when the carbon tax is up and running, that everyone will think, what was all that fuss about?
You accuse Tony Abbott of being negative all of the time. Is that just because he disagrees with you?
No, it is because everything I do in the best interests of the country, he says, no. to.
So do you agree with any of his ideas?
No, of course not.
So is that not you just being negative?
Oh, David, don't be so silly.
Coming back to the carbon tax, if no one is worse off and the polluters pass on their price increases, then how will this change people's behavior?
Well, think of how much more money people will be able to save by turning their lights off.
I hear that the pensioners will get a windfall of $210. Should that really be described as a windfall?
Well, yes, of course. They will be able to get a ticket for the best seat in the house for a Lady Gaga concert or equivalent each year, as long as they keep their heaters, air conditioners, and lights turned off for most of the time.
You said 6 days before the last election that there will be no carbon tax under the government I lead.
Yes, I did.
So are you surprised that you are now known as Julia, because most Australians feel you lied to them?
I did not lie to them. Things changed and we are not bringing in a tax, we are bringing in a price.
But you said it was effectively like a tax.
That was because I did not want to play the media's silly semantic games.
So if it effectively like a tax, doesn't it mean that you lied to them, and if so, why don't you call an election?
Oh, David, don't be so silly. The Australian people know that things change, and just because I only have a 27% approval rating does not mean that I am not acting in the best interests of the nation. Apart from the hysterical filthy rich, my vision for Australia will be proven right.
So will this carbon tax make any difference to the climate of the world or Australia?
Oh, David, don't be so silly. Of course not. But if the other 192 nations in the world follow our policy that will have no effect, then that would have an effect. It is called synergy. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
So do you think you will be able to convince the people of your case?
Of course. As long as no one dies or resigns in Parliament and we keep pork barreling with the Greens and Independents for the next 2 years, and keep threatening our opponents, then I will be re-elected in my own right and go down as the greatest Prime Minister since Kevin Rudd.
Well, there you are. If that does not convince you that this nation is under the finest quality of leadership, then nothing will. I am David Speers.